international news. His Majesty graduates the 26th batch of Mu'ta University's military wing students tomorrow and addresses the nation on a wide range of local and regional issues. Turkish Prime Minister Tayyip Erdogan warns protesters occupying Taksim Square they should leave before a ruling party rally tomorrow or face eviction by the security forces. And Google releases helium-filled balloons into the sky in New Zealand's South Island as part of an experiment to get the planet online by beaming the internet down to Earth. Good evening and welcome to the news at 10. His Majesty the King, the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, will graduate the 26th batch of Mu'ta University's military wing students tomorrow. At the graduation ceremony, the King will address the nation in a speech that will tackle local as well as regional issues. Prime Minister Abdullah Mansour led a ceremony organized by Balqa veterans on the occasion of Jordan's National Days. Speakers at the ceremony hailed the Jordan National Committee of Military Veterans, established by the late King Hussein, as an economic umbrella that assists members, helps improve their living conditions and support their integration into civil society. The Jordan Armed Band played national music and a Salt female troupe performed a popular song and dance at the celebration. The United States will keep Patriot missile batteries and F-16 fighter jets in Jordan after the completion of joint military exercises this month, according to a statement by the Pentagon. The statement said U.S. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel has approved a request from Jordan for a detachment of F-16s and Patriot missiles to remain in the country following the conclusion of the Eagle Lion exercise next week. A Pentagon spokesman said all other U.S. personnel assigned to Jordan for Eagle Lion will depart at the conclusion of the exercise. He said the United States enjoys a long-standing partnership with Jordan and is committed to its defense. Earlier, Jordan's Minister of State for Media Affairs, Mohammed al-Moumeni, announced that a request to the effect was presented to the U.S. government. And over to the Syria crisis. And the U.S. State Department says the use of chemical weapons by Syrian government forces and the involvement of Hezbollah fighters show the Syrian president's lack of commitment to negotiations. The State Department, citing comments by Secretary of State John Kerry, said those actions threaten to put a political settlement to the conflict out of reach. Russia, meanwhile, is cautioning against any military action, including a no-fly zone over Syria. Luay Balqar has more.
The U.S. administration's announcement on Thursday to give lethal aid to the Syrian rebels in light of evidence that President Bashar al-Assad's forces have used chemical weapons in the civil war seems to be a significant change in U.S. policy on Syria. The White House played down the prospect of imposing a no-fly zone over parts of Syria, saying the U.S. doesn't have a national interest in pursuing that option, adding that a no-fly zone is not a silver bullet.
Frankly, in Syria, when you have a situation where regime forces are intermingled with opposition forces, they're fighting in some instances block by block in cities, that's not a problem you can solve from the air.
Any kind of military action by the U.S. could be vetoed in the UN Security Council by Russia, so the U.S. officials will try to persuade Russian President Vladimir Putin to abandon support for Assad when the two leaders meet in Northern Ireland on Monday. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said any attempt to use of fighter jets or Patriot missiles to enforce potential no-fly zone over Syria would be a violation of international law.
You don't have to be a great expert to understand that this will still violate international law, and we really hope that our American colleagues will align their actions in accordance with the approach of the Russian-American initiative in preparation for the conference on Syria.
Secretary General Ban Ki-moon also cautioned about the use of chemical weapons and called for a full investigation into allegations as the estimated number of dead reached at least 93,000.
The validity of any information on the alleged use of chemical weapons cannot be ensured without convincing evidence of the chain of custody. That is why I continue to emphasize the need for an investigation on the ground in Syria that can collect its own samples and establish the facts.
Meanwhile, the rebels and Syrian troops fought some of the heaviest street battles in months, and heavy artillery by the Syrian regime shelled rebel fighters in Aleppo, Syria's second largest city, and in Deir ez-Zor. In the capital Damascus, Syrian artillery and warplanes pounded rebel areas in the districts of Jubar and Qaboon. And as the fighting continues, Syria now in need to preserve its justice, freedom, liberty and human life by finding any political solution. Loy Balkar for the news at 10.
In the Libyan city of Benghazi, 6 soldiers were killed in clashes between Libyan special forces and armed protesters outside a special forces base in the city. Residents in the area said heavy gunfire and explosions were heard during the fighting, and hours earlier a group of men have forced their way into a different army compound to steal weapons. It was not immediately clear who the protesters were or if any had been killed. The protesters have been demanding the disbanding of militias and clashed with members of the Libya Shield Brigade. The brigade had fought to oust former leader Muammar Gaddafi and now says it's aligned with the Defense Ministry. And over to Turkey. Prime Minister Tayyip Erdogan warned protesters occupying a central part in Istanbul they should leave before a ruling party rally tomorrow or face eviction by the security forces. Speaking before a rally of tens of thousands of supporters in Ankara, Erdogan said if the protesters do not evacuate Taksim Square, the security forces would know how to evacuate it. Earlier, the protesters occupying the park declared they will not stop their resistance against the Turkish government. They made the declaration in a statement on the website of umbrella protest group Taksim Solidarity, despite a conciliatory note by Erdogan yesterday, saying he would put redevelopment plans for the park on hold until a court ruling on the project. Moderate cleric Hassan Rouhani has won Iran's presidential election. Rouhani scored a surprising landslide victory over conservative hardliners without the need of a second-round runoff. On state television, Interior Minister Mustafa Mohammad Najjar announced that Rouhani secured just over 50% of the ballot based on a 72% turnout of 50 million eligible voters. Though an establishment figure, Rouhani is a former chief nuclear negotiator known for his conciliatory approach. He has pledged to promote a policy of constructive interaction with the world and to enact a domestic civil rights charter. His wide margin reveals a broad reservoir of pro-reform sentiment with many voters. At least 21 female university students were killed when a bus exploded in Pakistan's southwest city of Quetta, the largest in Pakistan's insurgency, hit Baluchistan province. The city police chief said the blast gutted a bus carrying the students, while another explosion rocked the hospital where survivors were taken. Officials said a total of at least 27 were injured. Witness accounts said police and fighters exchanged fire at the hospital. Earlier in the day, blasts triggered by suspected separatists killed a policeman and gutted a historic summer retreat used by Pakistan's founder in Baluchistan's province. Britain's Queen Elizabeth marked her official 87th birthday with a Trooping the Colour ceremony in central London. The Queen rode in a carriage from Buckingham Palace along the Mall to Horse Guards Parade, a short distance away. Her husband, the Duke of Edinburgh, remains in hospital recovering from surgery. Other royal family members also attended the ceremony. The Queen's and regimental colours of 1st Battalion Grenadier Guards were trooped, and her presence at the ceremony ended with a 41-gun salute and Royal Air Force flypast. Trooping the colour has been a tradition of British infantry regiments for 3 centuries. A unit's colours are the flags which were historically used as rallying points on the battlefield. 2 days before a G8 meeting in Northern Ireland, more than 1,000 trade unionists, environmentalists and anti-poverty campaigners voiced their anger at G8 leaders. The protesters chanted slogans against a host of issues, from US foreign policy to local government cutbacks, as they walked through the city. The summit will include the first private face-to-face meeting between US President Barack Obama and Russian President Vladimir Putin in a year. Top of the agenda will be Syria and a potential global action on tax evasion. A major protest is planned for Monday, the first day of meetings near Enniskillen, 130 kilometers west of Belfast, where the meeting convenes. The meeting brings together the leaders of Britain, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, Russia and the United States, as well as senior European Union officials. We stay in Northern Ireland, but on the lighter side of the G8 summit. World leaders as ice cream flavors, a local ice cream store near the town of Enniskillen and just down the road from the secluded hotel where the meeting will be held, decided to adapt 8 flavors to the VIP visitors about to be welcomed in the city. Nuts for Obama, Black Forest, White Russian, Tiramisu, macaroons are amongst the special icy and creamy creations available. The store manager says she had to do some research to find the best recipes or to resort to what is famous for each country. She says there are many choices for everyone's taste, whether they like the leader or not. But beyond the publicity the store is attracting, the ultimate aim for the manager would be to have one of the world leaders come in to taste one of their own ice cream creations.
We looked out for things that each of the individual world leaders would like, and where that information was available we used it. So for example, in Nuts about Obama, we found out that he liked toasted nuts, so he likes pecans and he likes almonds, so we have lured them through the gelato that we've created for him. Where that information wasn't available, we sort of picked things that were obvious to each country, like for Italy, tiramisu, for France, macaroon, for Russia, a White Russian, vodka and Tia Maria flavoured gelato.
For the first time, Google has released helium-filled balloons into the sky in New Zealand's South Island as part of an experiment to get the planet online by beaming the internet down to Earth. The balloons, carrying antenna, computers, batteries and navigational equipment, and generate power from solar panels. Here's the story.
Could helium-filled balloons bring high-speed internet to the most remote parts of the world? Google thinks one day they might. The tech giant is launching balloons in New Zealand as part of a bold experiment. Powered by solar planes and laden with computers, Google says the balloons it can beam down wireless signals at 3G-like speeds. They could be a game breaker in areas with a little infrastructure, says Google.
Sometimes if you want to make a huge, big leap, you have to try something crazy.
The balloons fly at twice the height of commercial planes, and one can provide web access over an area of 1,200 square kilometers. While they can stay aloft for about 100 days, they can't remain in the same place. So Google's plan is to launch a host of balloons into the winds of the stratosphere, creating a network that provides constant coverage.
Top seed Andy Murray continued his quest for a third Queen's title with a 6-4, 7-6 defeat of Germany's Benjamin Becker in the quarter-finals of the Aegon Championship in London. Murray trailed 4-2 in the second set, but found an extra gear to subdue the 31-year-old and level the match at 6-6. In the second set tie-break, Murray cruised to a 6-love lead. Becker took the next 3 points, but the world number 2 clinched the victory to set up a semi-final against Joe Wilfried Tsonga. And well, number 4, Joe Wilfried Tsonga qualified for the semi-final of the championship after beating American Dennis Kudla in straight sets, winning 6-3, 6-2.
Segment Tsonga. 2 sets to love, 6-3, 6-2.
Championship leader Dani Pedrosa grabbed pole position for today's Catalonia Grand Prix when he recorded the fastest ever lap at Montmeló near Barcelona. Spaniard Pedrosa delighted the home fans with a time of 1 minute 40 seconds and 893 milliseconds on his Honda, more than half a second faster than any other rider on this circuit. Yamaha pilot Carl Crutchlow of Britain was second fastest, with Pedrosa's compatriot, world champion Jorge Lorenzo, third quickest on another Yamaha. And finally, for a quick look at the weather. Pleasant weather prevails tonight in hilly areas and moderate elsewhere, with northwesterly moderate winds. Tomorrow, normal summer conditions are in the forecast in most parts of the country, but it will remain relatively hot in Aqaba and the Jordan Valley, with temperatures in the mid-30s there. Winds will be northwesterly moderate, picking up at times, and blowing dust in the Badia. The Gulf of Aqaba should expect a relatively hot day tomorrow, with northerly moderate winds and calm seas. Next are the lows and highs for tonight and tomorrow. To end the news, here is a reminder of our top stories. His Majesty the King graduates the 26th batch of Mutta University's military wing students tomorrow and addresses the nation on a wide range of local and regional issues. Turkish Prime Minister Tayyip Erdogan warns protesters occupying Taksim Square they should leave before a ruling party rally tomorrow or face eviction by the security forces. And Google releases helium-filled balloons into the sky in New Zealand's South Island as part of an experiment to get the planet online by beaming the internet down to Earth. And that's the end of tonight's news. I am Ra'ad Liptoush. Thank you for watching and have a good night.